This is Andi Purewal for Boxing Social in association with Betfred, and I'm delighted to be joined by former world champion Liam Smith on Zoom. Beefy, how are you doing?
I'm good, mate. You?
Yeah, I'm all good, mate. All good. Obviously, cracking up a little bit in lockdown, as I imagine most people are now. But how is life for you in lockdown? First and foremost, as well, congratulations on your newborn, on your little girl.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what's really getting us through lockdown. You know, I've got the benefits of spending more time with my little daughter and my firstborn. So that's keeping us company in lockdown. But the same really as others. It's doing me head in. You know, I'm kind of an active person and with the gyms and going for little games of golf here and there and football. It's doing me head in a bit, but we're all in the same position.
How is parenthood? How have you found the first couple of weeks or so as a father?
Yeah, obviously it's you're told beforehand, but it's a special feeling. Obviously, we get the pleasure of looking at our little girl every day. So I feel blessed and I'm very fortunate at the minute. So it's it's good. It's good to finally become a father, and I'm very proud of me missus and proud of the little girl I've got.
I spoke to Callum and did an interview with him. I think it was probably about a week or so after you'd actually had your little girl. And he said, he came round and he stood outside the house, but it wasn't the same as I imagine, when they had children, when your brothers had children, you'd have been able to hold them and see them like there next to each other for the first time. They never actually had that. What's it been like for you not being able to obviously have your family come in to see your little daughter?
Yeah, that's been the hard part. Obviously, my mum's basically broke me out more than anything. They've all been round, they've all stood in the garden, but my mum hasn't held a granddaughter, and that's what's been the hard part for us. I know we've got a lot of friends and a lot of family, but the hardest part's been my mum not being able to see her properly. But slowly but surely, I'm sure they can. My family can come and visit her and see her properly.
Hopefully that is obviously sooner rather than later, with a few rules seeming to be eased over the past few days. But on to obviously the boxing talk and the reason behind us catching up. How have you been kind of coping and managing your workload? What have you been doing during lockdown?
Yeah, I've been doing bits. I started off with bits of running. I've had access to a gym, a private gym, me and Callum. So we've been training, but training and that's it really. Not so much strict on the other parts, and like I said, I can't really say the diet's gone too well. But we're training and ticking over, and just really waiting to hear a little bit more of when we're going to start, and then I can probably knuckle down and know what I've got to aim towards.
How has the kind of the first few weeks of being a father changed or impacted your original training scheme for lockdown?
It's hard to express that because I've been flexible, if you know what I mean. It would have been a little bit different, and I opened it if, say I had late nights with the baby and then I was in the gym sparring with Joe, and I had sparring partners come in the gym and I was sparring for 10 o'clock or 9 o'clock, then I would have been able to answer your question a bit better then. But because of the circumstances in the pandemic we're in, it's flexible, you know what I mean? I can work around the baby rather than have to juggle everything.
So obviously with your current situation, there's nothing lined up, or there wasn't anything lined up before lockdown. So what kind of conversations and that was you having with Eddie or with MTK about where you kind of stood and what opportunities you were looking at?
We just, I think everybody knew really, the conversations I was having. It was all bubbling a little bit with the Brook situation. Kell Brook and Sheffield. I got asked would I be in attendance. I said yes. There was talk of us fighting, and then Kell seemed to not avoid it, but he weren't really too keen on it. And then obviously now they're talking Crawford, but if he gets the Crawford fight, then, you know, good on him. Who am I to knock him for Crawford? He's an elite fighter, but I feel if he doesn't fight Crawford, then he should fight me. But it's obviously down to him and his team and his talks he's having with Eddie.
Obviously, on the back of Kell's last fight in Sheffield, I know you was there and I interviewed you after his performance. What discussions or anything have you had with Eddie about the Brook fight? Did you have any at all, or was it simply you just turned up on the night just to make maybe a bit of noise about your interest in having that fight?
No, not really. I've had no conversations with him since, but also I didn't turn up off my own back. I was asked, would I be in attendance? I was asked, look, you know, will you go and be there? We want to make that fight, and I know Sky want that fight. Well, Sky did want that fight. You know, obviously, again, I'm not deluded about it. If he gets the Crawford fight, I'm sure, you know, him himself and people would want that more than they'd want Smith and Brook. But, you know, we're talking about February. There was no talk of him fighting Crawford. So, you know, people wanted that fight. And I know Sky wanted that fight. So, that's the situation I was in. Sky were keen to make the fight. Sky were pushing for Eddie to make the fight. And Eddie was obviously keen to make it. But after it, Kell seemed to play it down, seemed to say he wanted the bigger name, and his name's gone in the act for Crawford. So if that's the case, then good luck to him.
On the back of, you know, obviously you attending that fight then in Sheffield, was you surprised that all that, at least some type of discussion wasn't held with your team, Kell's team, about that fight?
Yeah, I was surprised. You know, I've never once had an offer to fight Kell Brook. We've never once spoke about the venue. We've never once spoke about money. So, yeah, I'm very surprised and annoyed, if you know what I mean, at that situation. But, you know, look, it's all, I mean this in a polite way. Like, I'm going to say a polite way. It's down to Eddie. Eddie's got to make it. If Eddie wants it, Eddie makes it. You know, Eddie's not stupid. Eddie's good at his job. Eddie just kind of says to Kell, well, if he doesn't get Crawford, you know, I can pay you X amount for Smith, or I can pay you X amount for fucking Michael Fanfara or whoever the Australian kid he fought. So, and I'm sure Kell will jump at the money. You know, he's 33, 34 now. He's going to be trying to make the biggest money fight possible before he finishes. So, you know, if I'll just do two examples. If you're offered him $1 million or 700 grand to fight Liam Smith, or you're offering 250 grand to fight, you know, somebody in Sheffield, I'm sure I know which one Kell will take. So it's down to Eddie really to make a fight like that.
What do you feel Kell still has left in him? Obviously, you've seen him in Sheffield. Firstly, what did you make of that victory over Mark DeLuca?
Yeah, I thought he boxed well. I thought he started how I expected him to start. A little bit timing, not so much there. Maybe a little bit of nerves, being back under the lights. And then I thought after 2 rounds, he looked like not so much the Kell Brook of old, but he looked as good as he is now. You know what I mean? Probably as good as he's going to get. His time and come back, he picked his punches well. He's always been able to punch. He's a spiteful puncher, and he's accurate. So I thought he boxed well after 2 rounds, and done a good job on DeLuca. Not a bad fighter, DeLuca. So I thought he done a good job.
What do you feel he still has left at, you know, say world level, especially if you was to consider a bout with yourself? How much of a competitive bout do you feel it would still be?
I think he'll be very competitive. He's a good fighter. Stylistically, he's a good fighter also. And I know by sparring him, the two styles gel very well. So a fight with myself would be a great fight. But what he has left to offer at world level, I do still think he can compete. You know, the 154s now have been blown wide open with a lot of very good fighters. You know, none so much elite fighters who are avoidable. You know what I mean? Like Lara in his day was, no one wanted to go near him. Obviously, like Canelo, people would go wanted the fight, but he was like the big ticket fight. who was just dominant. But now, like, the titles are getting passed back and forth. Obviously, you know, Jared Hare beat Tony Harrison. Jared Hare lost to Julian Williams. Julian Williams lost to Charlo. Obviously, I know it's the one who moved up. Then Charlo lost to Harrison. Obviously, Munguia moved up. Teixeira's won that title. Teixeira fighting Castano. They're all good world-level opponents, you know, world-class fighters, but not elite fighters. So, you know, don't be surprised if Castano doesn't beat Teixeira. You've got Jason Rosario just beat Julian Williams, who's lost to Nathan Gallimore. You've got just very, very good fighters, but all who can be beat. And I'm sure if you put Brook in with any one of them fighters mentioned, he's got a chance. And you know, it's maybe a 60-40, but it's not a fucking 90-10, you know what I mean? It's not he's not there just to make the numbers up. He still can compete and maybe still win a world title. I do think he's good enough to.
How big a fight between yourself and Kell do you feel it would be? Obviously, I did an interview with John Fuchs, who used to be his trainer a couple of years ago, and John said that he feels it'd be an instant domestic classic if you two were to meet, and he wanted to see you two meet when John was training Kell. How big of a fight do you feel it would be if you and Kell were to meet?
You know, obviously, I think over here, I think it's a massive fight. I think if you announce tomorrow, Smith-Brook's done for fucking Sheffield. I think Smith-Brook's done for Liverpool. Smith-Brook's done for Manchester. I think it's a very good fight. I think it sells very well ticket-wise. I think it's a very big fight. Like, you know, social media will be a big draw. Like, you know, there'll be big conversations, and it'll be a big talk. The fight will gel very well. I think the fight's a great fight, however long it lasts. A very competitive fight also. And again, that's why I'm a little bit frustrated why it isn't made, and it should have been made. You know, I know Kell was out the ring the back end of last year, but you know, I feel it should have happened before. Even if it was starting next, I think it should have happened before it already has. When
you originally moved over and signed to Matchroom, I know there was a lot of people kind of trying to make some noise and trying to get the rumour mill going that you and Kell could meet as soon as you'd signed for Matchroom, but you both said you wasn't really interested back then. Why do you both think you feel you're interested now? Why do you both want potentially to have that fight now?
I was never ever not interested in it. I was interested in the fight when I won a world title. It was with Frank Warren. I was always interested in it because he was always a big name in Britain. But I didn't sign with Matchroom to fight Kell Brook. I signed with Matchroom thinking, you know what, it's easy to make. But I signed with Matchroom to further my career and get better opportunities and more opportunities. That's what I signed Matchroom for. And I felt the Kell Brook fight was easy to make once I'd had 1 or 2 fights with Matchroom, and that was the deal, if you know what I mean. You know, I'll have 2 fights and then I'll have a big one, and whether it be Kell Brook or a challenge for the title or, you know, I don't know, but I think it should have been made, and we're both with Eddie, and Eddie's good at his job. He could have forced that fight, but, you know, maybe Kell Brook being out the ring the back end of last year when I fought in America in December. I think Brook was out the ring, you know, and his comeback fight was February. So, you know, maybe that's hindered it a bit, but it should have happened. It could have maybe happened June, you know, but this pandemic thing's come in and probably stumbled it a little bit, and then he's gone into the half of the Crawford fight. So, I don't know, mate. I'm yet to see.
Let's just briefly touch on that, you know, the potential Crawford fight for Kell Brook. What are your thoughts on it if it was to happen? How do you think Kell could fare against Terence?
Competitive early, but Crawford will just adjust and take over late. Very good fighter, fighter who's so hard to beat. I've always said that with Crawford. I think he's just so hard to beat. If something's not working for him, he can change. He can box, he can fight, he can box southpaw, he can fight southpaw. You know, he can come forward, he can make it awkward. I think he's just a fighter who's going to be so hard to beat.
I forgot my question for a second, Ali. I forgot what I was going to ask. Oh yeah, sorry. With yourself and obviously just away from Kell Brook, we spoke about Teixeira, me and Joe Gallagher previously, and Joe said that he wanted you to kind of engineer towards that fight for the WBO world title. Is that something that you guys are considering? Are you guys having any talks, provided obviously after Teixeira's next fight goes to plan? Is this something you're interested in?
Yeah, 100%. That's the route I'm on. That's the route I'm on. The Brook fight would have come in. I'll take that because it's a big fight, and it's a big fight domestically. It's a good money fight. It's a good competitive fight also, and that's a fight that I don't mean this in a how can I put it? I could sit there and like I say, I could keep. I've kept wanting fights like I did last year. Fights that I was going to win, and getting okay money for them fights, and just keep banking money for shit fights. But you blow away in the wind. You know what I mean? People forget about you. I'm 31. And you probably got people already who think I'm finished. You know what I mean? But the more I keep fighting on undercards, and the more I'm slipping through the back door, the more people are just going to think, oh, and the people won't be interested in me. You know what I mean? So, and that's where I want to keep in big fights. I'm not going to hang about now to keep fighting on undercards and fighting fights that I'm going to win. I'm 31. I've been British champion. I've been Commonwealth champion. I've been world champion. And, I want to be world champion again, or have big fights that are going to pay very well and secure my future. So that's what I want to do. And especially with the Brook fight, I can sit now. I'm the next mandatory for Teixeira or Castano. Whoever wins, I'll be their next mandatory, but the winner's going to be entitled to a voluntary defence. And I thought I'd fight Brook in the meantime. I'd risk that. I'd risk the mandatory position. Obviously, if I fought Brook, it'd then become a final eliminator. But, I'd risk it for the big fight with Brook. I'd risk it for the big fight with Jessie Vargas. That's probably the route I'm going to push. That's the fight I'm going to push for with Eddie. I'm going to say, I'm the manager of TMTK. I'm going to say, see if we can make the Vargas fight again, because that was very keen and very optimistic. He was very interested in it, and then he got the Mikey Garcia fight, which, just like Brook with Crawford, gets a bigger fight and a better fight for better money. Then who am I to stop that? But if he doesn't fight anyone else, then he should fight me. And now Jessie Vargas, I think Vargas can have a comeback fight against me, if you know what I mean.
What are your thoughts on Jessie's level still? Do you feel like he can sort of offer anything at world level? Do you feel he was just weight drained, dropping down to 147 against Mikey?
He'd probably tell you more than that than I can, but I thought he was still very competitive at world level. He started very well against Mikey Garcia, who's a world level fighter. All right, maybe not a world level, maybe not an elite welterweight, but he's an elite fighter, if you know what I mean, if that makes sense. Unbelievable fighter, but maybe just a bit too small for welterweight. Vargas might have took a lot out of him, getting back to 147, but performed very well, very competitive. And I think he's still a good force. He loves a fight. Again, I can't see me and him gelling, not gelling. I think me and Vargas would be a good fight. He loves a fight. No gimmicks about him. He doesn't come to old and make a fight awkward. He loves the fight himself. So I'm sure people have seen, my style. I don't want to be holding in boring fights. I want to be in good fights. So I think me and Vargas could make for a very good viewing.
I remember probably just over a year or so ago, Joe once again mentioned that fight. He was keen to try and make it. Did you get anywhere? Have you had any kind of discussions in the past about that fight? Have you had any kind of...
Yeah, we were close. We were close with Vargas. I think Vargas was keen on it. And then we done an interview when we were in New York for Joshua and Callum fought Nadam.
Yeah.
We done it. We had a conversation. We done an interview. We spoke with Eddie after, and we were keen to make that fight. And then I think Eddie flew a couple of weeks later. Maybe I might be wrong on this, but when we were in LA for Kroll Lomachenko, it might have been Eddie signed Mikey Garcia.
Okay.
And then it was a no given. It was a no brainer that you knew Vargas was going to fight Garcia once Eddie had signed Garcia, and Eddie also had Vargas. It was the easiest fight to make for Eddie, and a bit like me and Brook should be. Once Eddie signed Garcia, there was only one fight to make, and it was Jessie Vargas.
You mentioned, a couple of questions ago, you feel like you just want to continue to be in big fights. You want to keep your name out there. With obviously everything that's going on at the minute with lockdown and what's going on in the world, do you feel that when boxing does return, there's going to be a pressure on you to make sure you are back out there in those big fights and to make up for the lost time that many fighters will also be experiencing yourself?
I think it's probably going to be, fighters wanting to make up for lost time, but I also think it's going to push fighters into, you'll get fighters who go, no, I want one more and then I'll have it. And it's down to Eddie and Frank Warren, fucking top rank, to just go, no, you're getting matched. We've wasted half the year. It's gone. You're not getting any younger either. Just, you've got to go into to fight each other now. And I think fights should be made now. This should open people's eyes and think, you know what, tomorrow's not certain. You know what I mean? This could happen again in December when you're planning your big fight. You know what I mean? And then that goes out the window. I think just once boxing's back up and running, let's just fight.